Good evening once again. I'm Josh Brumberg, president of the CUNY Graduate Center, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to our annual celebration of our alumni. As a longtime faculty member, I've had the privilege of seeing our graduates make extraordinary contributions, not only to New York City, but around the world. Tonight, we are delighted to welcome back alumni along with their families, friends, and our colleagues from across the CUNYverse as we celebrate the achievements of this year's honorees. This evening, we recognize alumni whose research spans education, public service, health, and the arts. Collectively, they exemplify the Graduate Center's mission, advancing knowledge and applying it in ways that serve the public good. Their work shapes fields, expands access to opportunity and care, and strengthens communities locally and globally. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the alumni who served on this year's award selection committee. I'm told several of them are in the room, so I would like to recognize those who I know are here. I saw Bruce Alschler. Is Chris Redden here? I don't see him. Nora Wadla is here from biology. Christopher Norrell, I didn't see him either. Lynn Hill, thank you. And I did see Karen Pincus. Thank you very much. Have I missed anyone? No, thank you. There was other folks as well. It takes a lot of work. Your thoughtful consideration and dedication made this celebration possible. I also want to thank the award presenters who you will meet in turn as they have joined us to honor the honorees. And a warm welcome to all of those joining via live stream. And one final plug before turning this over is on May 11th, we have our annual dissertation showcase, where you get to see 12 of what one day will be joining you as alumni of the Graduate Center. So you can either come in person down in Elabosh or watch on live stream. There's some flyers in the back about our public programs. You can scan the QR code and register May 11th to see. And the amazing thing, and this wasn't done in many of your time, they get one slide in 3 minutes to explain your dissertation. So truly amazing. Hopefully you can come and join us for that. Now I'm pleased to turn the program over to, for this audience, our new provost, Joel Christensen, has been with us now at the end of his first academic year. Please welcome Joel.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening. I have written comments, but I said I was going to ad-lib a little, so wait for it. And so it's really a pleasure to be part of this annual tradition. Moments like this offer us a powerful reminder of the breadth and impact of the Graduate Center's academic community. Tonight, we celebrate how our alumni carry their training into the world, how they carry our mission out into the world, and shape the ideas, the institutions, and the lives of everybody they encounter. As most of you don't know, when I'm not a provost, I'm a Homerist. And there's a lot of talk in these years about the Homeric Odyssey. And one of the things that the Odyssey teaches us is your identity and your achievements do not develop on their own. They come from the people who know you and recognize you and support you. So before we recognize the alumni, I want to just take a moment for us all to recognize and thank the parents, the partners, the children, the friends, the birth families, and the found families that make their work possible. I won't make you stand. Raise your hands. Let's see all the supporters today. Come on. Some of you are here. These awards are for me too. Right? So we begin with the Alumni Achievement Award, which honors graduates of exceptional distinction whose work demonstrates outstanding accomplishment and leadership in their fields. To present the first award, I would like to welcome Krista Salamandra, Director of the Master's Program in Middle Eastern Studies.
It is my honor to present the Alumni Achievement Award to Avishan Bujner, Chief of the Information Management Unit, Department of Peace Operations at the United Nations. Avishan's work draws on her expertise in computer systems and technology. She has harnessed data and information systems to build more peaceful, inclusive, and sustainable societies. In her current position as Chief of the Information Management Unit in the United Nations Department of Peace Operations, she leads global teams supporting peacekeeping and diplomacy. Her contributions have been recognized with the UN Secretary General's Award in 2019 and in the 2021 Women, Peace and Security Award for her work supporting the United Nations Disengagement Observer Force. She was named a STEM role model by the UN Office of Information and Communication and served as an Impact Fellow at Singularity University in Silicon Valley. Abhishan has also promoted the UN's ethical engagement with artificial intelligence, championing an initiative that positions generative AI as a catalyst for institutional rejuvenation and responsible innovation. Abhishan remains a dynamic presence in the life of the Graduate Center's MA program in Middle Eastern Studies, mentoring prospective students and participating in career development efforts. Abhishan's work represents the very best of what we do here at the Graduate Center by leveraging data and analysis to address complex global problems. We are pleased to honor her with this year's Alumni Achievement Award. Thank you.
President Brumberg, Provost Christensen, distinguished guests, and dear family and friends. It's a profound honor to stand before you as a recipient of the 2026 Alumni Award. To be in the company of such distinguished, highly accomplished alumni is humbling. I'm deeply grateful to the Alumni Award Committee for this recognition. The Graduate Center of the City University of New York is not merely an academic institution. It's an intellectual community that shapes perspectives, challenges assumptions, and in my case, it reshaped both my worldview and my career path in ways I never anticipated. I arrived in New York City from Tehran, Iran in 2007 for what was intended to be a brief 2-month unpaid United Nations internship. During that period, I realized that to meaningfully contribute to peace at the UN, I needed a deeper, more critical engagement with my home region and the world. Enrolling in the Master's in the Middle Eastern Studies program at the Graduate Center marked the beginning of that journey, one that would extend far beyond the classroom. The impact of the Graduate Center was not limited to the acquisition of knowledge. It was more importantly a reshaping of mindset. It taught me to move beyond reductive binaries and to engage with the layered complexities of geopolitics, culture, and history. I recall long evenings on the 6th floor of this building at the MEMIAC space, writing and reflecting on the rich complexities of a region sometimes reduced to simplicity, often fueled by Professor Ani Bakalian's kind and unforgettably delicious baklavas. In those moments, I realized peace building demands humility and cultural sensitivity. I still smile thinking of the sweet moment I got my very first US paycheck from none other than the Graduate Center after helping redesign the MEMIAC website. Today, I serve as the Chief Information Management in the Department of Peace Operations at the United Nations, where I have the privilege of currently supporting missions in some of the world's most complex and fragile contexts, including United Nations Disengagement Observer Force in the Golan Heights and the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. Throughout this journey, the intellectual foundation I built at the Graduate Center has supported me and my team in analyzing data and contributing to decisions that impact lives, vulnerable communities, and peace. I'm deeply grateful to the mentors who shaped this path. Professor Salamandra and the MA in Middle Eastern Studies program, thank you for your encouragement and nomination. Professor Simon Davis, my thesis advisor and truly an advisor for life. And Professors Bakalian, Baron, Stone, and many others whose names I hold in gratitude. I owe so much to my wonderful parents, who I'm lucky to have with me in this room this evening. And for my sister Azadeh for giving me the wings to fly to pursue my dreams. And to special people in my life and my dear friends whose love has sustained me, you have my heartfelt appreciation. And to amazing New York City, thank you for opening doors I didn't yet know existed. As I accept this award, I do so with an acute awareness of the conflict facing the Middle East, including in my home country of Iran, and the broader region and the international community. At a time when technological advancement and artificial intelligence are accelerating at an exponential pace, our collective investment in social sciences and in understanding the human dimensions of conflict must not fall behind. Programs such as the Middle Eastern Studies are essential not only for generating knowledge, but for cultivating the critical thinking, historical awareness, and empathy required to navigate complexity and to foster dialogue among civilizations rather than threatening for civilizations to die. As I leave this stage, both proud and humbled to receive this Alumni Award, I carry forward the Graduate Center's lesson and the wisdom of the Middle Eastern Studies program, that peace begins with understanding and knowledge. I thank you all.
Congratulations again. For our next award, I would like to welcome Lilia Maliar, Executive Officer of the PhD program in Economics.
Good evening. It's a great pleasure to present this Alumni Award to Professor Frank Abbasi. Frank received a PhD in economics from the Graduate Center of CUNY in 1972, and we are very proud to count him among our alumni. Over the past 5 decades, he has built a remarkable career across academia, industry, and policy, helping to shape both financial research and professional practice. His work in fixed income, portfolio management, and financial econometrics has had a lasting influence. Generations of students and practitioners have learned from his work, often through textbooks that seem to appear on just about every serious finance syllabus. His handbook of fixed income securities is widely regarded as a foundational reference in both bond markets and has educated readers around the world. Frank's scholar contributions are both pioneering and impactful. He has authored more than 150 books, and remarkably, just this year alone, several new volumes have already appeared. He has collaborated with Nobel laureates, including Hani Markovits, Franco Modigliani, Robert Shiller, and Robert Engel, and has long served as editor of the Journal of Portfolio Management, helping shape the field for decades. While especially striking is his ability to connect theory with practice. His work is used not only in academic settings, but also by professionals across Wall Street and global financial institutions. Frank we're delighted to honor you today for your achievements, your impact, and an example you set. If I may add, we're especially grateful that despite such extraordinary activity, you found the time to be with us today and to remind us what the Graduate Center education can lead to. Please join me in congratulating Professor Frank House.
I want to thank the nominating committee. This was rather a surprise, as I'll mention later on. But at the suggestion of Jim, he told me to. I said, "What should I talk about?" And he said, "You know what you should do? Go look at last year's speeches," and I did. Okay, and everybody had an interesting background. Who came from? Well, this year we have someone from the Sudan, someone from the Middle East, and I'm born and raised in New York City. My elementary school in the Bronx, still, I think it still exists. I'm not going to start thanking everybody from my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Penshock, all the way through. I went to junior high school, New York, went to high school, and I got to have a plug for my high school, DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx, which was on record at the time as being the largest high school, all men. We never lost a basketball game, all men. And in my senior year, when I went to my college advisor and told him I probably won't be able to go to college, he suggested, very good, he said, go into one of the trades like a plumber. And, I said, that's an alternative. And then I looked at my recent plumber's bill. Okay, he was right. I said, right. So I went to, I then went to City College of New York. Okay, and at the time, and this is going to upset some people, faculty here, it was the highest paid university in the country at that time. They were able to get some of the sharpest PhD students, a lot from MIT. And University of Chicago. And I was very fortunate. They did a great job of training me. I went in originally to become a high school gym teacher, given my great physical shape, which is now past me. But what I decided to do is, I did well on my first semester. I took the normal 16 credits. Then I went on after that to, I said, I got to get out of here. I couldn't afford things. It was expensive. So I doubled up on taking courses because there were economies of scale. I knew that as an economist, where if I took 24 credits rather than 16, they charged me the same amount. Okay, they don't do that. But so I get that. And by the end of my second year, I had enough credits for one more semester and I would have graduated. So as luck had it, one of my professors got me an NSF grant to go to University of Michigan, possibly going to the PhD program. And then I had a problem. I was, I couldn't leave the New York area because of family commitments. So I went up to the City University of New York, the director at that time, the Graduate Center, and I said, "Hey, can I start in the PhD program?" They looked at their records and they said, "Yeah, but you'd have to pay." Okay, rather than getting a fellowship. So what they did was they kept my undergraduate, my graduate records the same. So by the time I graduated, I received a master's and an undergraduate degree, which is very common these days at some schools. And I have 48 credits towards a PhD, and I finished my PhD. And that's it. But everything's achieved. I achieved this because of New York City taxpayers, which I greatly appreciate. Okay. Then when I received President Bert's letter, actually it went into my spam folder. I said, "What in the world? Why would he write to me about this thing?" And it was an award. And I said, "Really?" I mean, I looked at all the people recently who received the award, and really well-known, not only well-known people, what you mentioned earlier about contributions to the public, I mean, we have the UN, we had others who made great achievements. I didn't do anything at all helping public-wise. I mean, I now do that. I volunteer to help at West Point. But at that, I mean, no one knows about that. And I said, why should they give this to me? Okay. So said, the best thing to do is go to ChatGPT and find out why they did it. So I put it in there and I put other people's things and said, why would they give me this award? And it came out and said, you're old. They said, what is the title? Is it going to be like, last half century? Because I was 1972, last half century graduate and all that. So after I did all of that, I was particularly impressed with the fact that not only across the graduate program that we have outstanding people who've done what I mentioned, public service. We even had people who's developed certain cures for diseases named after them. We had people who are, I think last year we had someone who had either a mineral named after them or a metal name. Am I right? Last year? Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything named after me. I had some person write to me. He named a racehorse after me because he liked one of the books. And everyone said, oh, yeah, really? That's about the racehorse. Okay? So what I'm particularly pleased about is that I had some people, I follow some of the graduates from the program. And what I thought was a great honor was to receive that award in light of some very, very good people. I'll just mention three of them. We had Ken Walton, who started at Yale, got an endowed chair at the University of Penn, a chair named after a Nobel Prize winner. We have Turan Bali, who has an endowed chair at Georgetown, remarkable record, and even our own Ted Joyce, who has done a lot of interesting work in that area. So I'm proud of that. And then the bottom line comes down to, as you mentioned, that we do owe a great deal to a lot of people. My last 32 years have been particularly productive, and that happened to coincide coincidentally with meeting my wife, who's going to cry in a second. But and it's really been a week. The biggest challenge, this was nothing, biggest challenge for those who are parents know that raising 3 kids was very tough. I tried to put them on the market for sale. I was told you can't do that. But I'm very pleased and certainly honored, but I hope that the nominating committee remembers the 3 names that I mentioned for next year's nomination. Thank you.
Fortunately, we'll be recording those names and we'll be able to follow up next year. For our final Alumni Achievement Award of the evening, I'd like to welcome Patricia Brooks, Executive Officer of the PhD Program in Psychology, to present.
Thank you. It is my honor to present the Alumni Achievement Award to Mary Sano, Professor of Psychiatry and Director of the Alzheimer's Research Center at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. Mary Sano is a prolific author and an internationally recognized neuropsychologist who recently received the 2025 Lifetime Achievement Award from the Alzheimer's Association and a Service Achievement Award from the International Psychogeriatric Association. Through groundbreaking clinical trials, leadership and large-scale research initiatives, and innovations in patient-centered assessment, her work has transformed how dementia is studied and treated, improving the lives of patients and families worldwide. As further examples, Mary's research team has focused on the detection of apathy across different dementias, its impact on functional capacity, and the economic consequences of cognitive impairment. She has developed and evaluated tools for home assessment of cognitive function, as well as tools for measuring the impact of cognitive impairment on employment and resource use. Additionally, Mary serves as a dedicated mentor for researchers entering the field of geropsychology. Helping to understand cognitive processes and developing practices that can improve people's lives is at the heart of our work in psychology. We are honored to present Mary Sano with this year's Alumni Achievement Award. Please join me in congratulating. Yes. Got it. Thank you.
So you're a hard act. And I want to highlight the fact that one of the things I've been proudest of is our ability to talk about the importance of cognition as an economic resource in this country and around the world. But let me start by saying thank you so much for this award. I have only recently started to reconnect with the Graduate Center. I did that a bit as my husband chose to follow me and get a degree here many years after I did. So now, degrees from this illustrious institution, family. But what I want to say is that in many ways, like you, I am so grateful for the opportunity to have gotten a degree here, where I was able to support myself through the period of getting this award, and that the city that supports such an incredible educational experience. What that gave me was an opportunity to work in a field that I love. And it gave me an opportunity to contribute to watching other people learn how to work in the field. And so as a neuropsychologist who's had an opportunity to work in clinical trials and to watch the disease that I work with, Alzheimer's disease, move from a condition that was undiagnosed to a condition that was only labeled as probable Alzheimer's disease, and to now have the technology to really determine who has the disease and who doesn't, and a way to treat the disease. I really feel as though I've had this opportunity to stand on many shoulders and participate with many groups to make a contribution. No one makes a contribution alone. They're all joint efforts. So thank you all for this award, and I hope I have an opportunity to tell others about how great it is to do something you love for so long and to know it made a difference.
We are now turning to our Gold Awards, which stand for Graduate of the Last Decade Awards, which recognize emerging leaders whose early career achievements signal extraordinary promise and impact. To present our first award, I'm excited to welcome back Patty Brooks.
So it is really an exciting honor to be able to award this to Phil Krasinski. I was on his dissertation committee and I was one of his nominators. So I'm excited to present the Graduate of the Last Decade Award to Phil. Phil is Assistant Professor of Community Health and Social Sciences at the CUNY Graduate School of Public Health and was just recently appointed as a member of the psychology faculty at the CUNY Graduate Center. Phil's work addresses critical challenges in adolescent mental health, including issues specifically related to HIV. He works across diverse settings from inner city New York City to rural sub-Saharan Africa. Through innovative technology-driven interventions and international research collaborations, Phil's work aims to expand access to care and improve outcomes for young people in the United States and beyond. Phil has been the recipient of multiple grants from the National Institutes of Health, He previously served as a research scientist at the New York State Psychiatric Institute and was an assistant professor of psychiatry at Columbia University. A fierce advocate for global health equity, Phil is spearheading efforts to combat recent policy shifts that have ended access to life-saving medication in Africa, which includes raising funds for the Rakai Health Sciences Program, a leading HIV research center in Uganda. Phil's research illustrates how innovative approaches and a global perspective can have an impact in addressing urgent public health challenges. We are honored to count him as an alumnus of the PhD program in psychology. So join me in congratulating Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Brooks. Thank you, Patty. Thank you to this little. Thank you to President Brumberg, Provost Christensen, to the nominating committee, to the Dean of the School of Public Health, Dean Ayman Al-Mohandes, and the people in this room who really made this possible. Professor Brooks and Colette Dayut, my mentor from the Graduate Center and continued good colleague and friend. Also thanks to my family. I brought my mom to this evening, so. And yeah, if they're not at soccer practice in the rain, my wife Sandy and my boys are maybe watching at home. So thanks to them for putting up with me and all this work, and being great motivators. So thinking about my time at the Graduate Center, really, it comes down, I think about John Cleese has this incredible famous speech about creativity. And he talks about how you need time and you need space. And the CUNY Graduate Center really provided me that at a key moment in my life. I'd been a public school teacher, working long hours, going to school in the evening, and then starting psychology here. And the fellowships allowed me the time and space to really think and engage with the intellectual material. And then to have mentors like Professor Rinskoff in psychology, who introduced me to like hierarchical linear models and Breyer and history, reading, at the time, the Turing tests, right? Thinking of it was like commonplace now, like how do you tell a computer from a human? Luke Waltzer was then at Baruch, but now he's here at the CTL teaching me how to design platforms. And all of these mentors really, for me, looking back, personify this psychological theory of like when you work with more advanced colleagues, they allow you to extend beyond your current potential, right? Something beyond what you can do on your own. So that's this Vygotskian theory that's deeply rooted here at the Graduate Center and has a long history here. And they really did push me to think beyond where I was and really set the foundation for my future work. And this way of like working with really top thinkers set me up so well. I was a postdoc at Columbia and then faculty and working with, how to bring teams together, right? And push people who had different expertise and bring them into the room and bring them into a project. And these projects to always with the goal of improving people's lives, right? Improving the people who are less fortunate than those of us in the room today. So that shared mission and that shared strategy, I think I totally owe to the Graduate Center and my family history as well. And so one example of this recent work, we had a paper published in The Lancet recently, led by my mentor at Columbia for a project that we're collaborating on. We showed that 20 years of HIV prevention and treatment in Africa, specifically in Uganda, reduced orphanhood by 70%. So that's across the continent, hundreds of thousands of lives changed, parents' lives saved, right? Because there was literally a generation of adults who lost their lives and thus children who lost their lives to HIV. And in the current moment, people are living with HIV longer, they can live healthy lives. But this is also, a stark reminder of the challenges we face today, because unfortunately, these programs are threatened right now. And so this progress that we've made over the last 20 years of saving so many lives, of improving the lives of people across the world, are now in grave jeopardy. And this strikes particularly home for me, as I'm actually kind of a third generation in this work, and my grandparents helped. They fought the apartheid era in South Africa and then started some of the early work to do HIV prevention and treatment. And so to see this long history of effort be so precarious at this moment is troubling. It's extremely troubling. But I made the choice. I was at Columbia for several years and made the choice to come back to CUNY, and I feel incredibly grounded and supported here and at the School of Public Health, thinking about how to support the next generation of scholars, how do we address this critical moment? What are we going to do? And I think being at CUNY, being in this room, we can start to think about ways to tackle like the crises of the moment, the mental health crisis, navigating complexities of adolescent health, the issues raised by new technology, including AI. So I think I'm so glad to be here with you all, to celebrate the progress we've made, recognizing these gains are fragile, but that together with this community and the foundation that we have, I think we're up to the task of pressing forward to an improved future. So thank you.
For our next Graduate of the Last Decade Award, I would like to welcome Elizabeth Woolman, Professor of Theater and Performance Studies, and herself an alumna of the Graduate Center's PhD program in ethnomusicology.
Hi there. I am delighted to present the Graduate of the Last Decade Award to Ryan Donovan, Assistant Professor of Theater Studies at Duke University. Ryan was a professional dancer and is now a celebrated award-winning scholar of the Broadway musical. His book, Broadway Bodies, A Critical History of Conformity, which was based on his excellent dissertation, received a 2024 Outstanding Book Award from the Association for Theater and Higher Education, was named one of NPR's 2023 Books We Love, and was one of Time Out New York's 12 best theater books of the past 3 years. If you haven't read it, run out, get it and read it. Very, very good. He's a co-founder and current president of the International Society for the Study of Musicals. He's been published very widely in leading journals, and his next book, 8 Nights a Week, How Broadway Turned Backbreaking, is due out next year. Now, when I first met Ryan, which was rather early in his graduate studies here, I think we agreed to do when you're by yourself, independent study, there, a little moment. Right? We'd agreed to do an independent study and we were getting to know each other. And he mentioned at one point that he was learning how to be a dog trainer, which was something that he kind of figured he would fall back on if academia didn't work out. And I look back at that. I have to say his scholarly success, it's good news and bad news because it's really heartbreaking for dogs. I think that dogs really would have benefited enormously from Ryan, but I'm very fortunate to be able to continue to learn from and work with Ryan. And I think humans, win out in this particular situation. So it does, it all kind of comes out with the wash, but I'm thrilled, at his trajectory and how well he has done in this field. Through his work, Ryan challenges us to think more deeply, both about representation on Broadway stages and also to consider the enormous amount of labor that goes on behind them. We're incredibly proud to honor him as an alumnus of the Theater and Performance Studies PhD program with the Graduate of the Last Decade Award. Please join me in congratulating him.
Thank you, Liz, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, President Brimberg, Provost Christensen, and the nominating committee, the alumni committee, for this truly unexpected honor. And congratulations to all of the fellow honorees tonight as well. It's overwhelming to be up here with you all. So when I first walked into the Graduate Center in 2011 to start my PhD, I had recently made the decision to leave my life as a sometime professional dancer and most of the time waiter behind. Friends at the time would ask, how could you ever leave show business? And that's a quote from the 1959 musical Gypsy, as my dear friend and fellow CUNY alum in 2024 Alumni Award honoree Bill Goldstein says, there's a quote from Gypsy for every occasion. Lo and behold, I never really left show business. I turned studying the Broadway musical and the labor of its performers into my second act. I specialize in an art form, the Broadway musical, that is always said to be dying, but always rises from the ashes. And I work in a field, theater and performance studies, that, like most in the arts and humanities, is currently at risk from multiple directions. And so this recognition comes at an especially meaningful time for me personally and on behalf of the theater and performance doctoral program down on the third floor. If you work at or attend CUNY, chances are that sometimes you've heard someone say when something that's the result of the chronic starvation of resources by New York State, someone here might say, oh, they got CUNY because they were out of printer paper or supplies or, the plumbing wasn't fixed. But I think that's the wrong framing. Getting CUNY was one of the best things that happened to me. And it began in my first seminar in fall 2001 in a windowless room on the third floor, surrounded and intimidated by my cohort, all of whom seemed to know everything. Professor Dan Gerald came in, sat down, said hello, and asked us if we knew what the first folio was. Now, I came to the Graduate Center after growing up in a one-stoplight town in Southern Maryland in the 1980s. I had no idea what the first folio was. Does anybody here know, by the way? Okay, so I'm not alone, except Liz thinks. Everyone else knew or pretended to, like I did. And so, of course, my heart sank when Dan called on me to tell everyone what it was. And I had to admit I didn't know. He kindly said that's okay, and we moved on. And that moment was perhaps the most educational moment of all of my time here. I understood then, sorry, I'm Irish and get sentimental. I understood then that not knowing didn't have to be terrifying. It was the point and the prerequisite for discovery. And that's how I first got CUNY. And it's what I hope to give to my students as well, permission to not know yet. Finally, what this award represents to me is recognition of my commitment and perseverance. I graduated 9 months before the pandemic shut down the world, and I sat down every day in 2020 and 2021 and turned my dissertation into a book. And I haven't stopped since. And I'm sure that more than a little of that relentlessness and drive, I learned from watching my husband, Eric. Billy told me I had to make this a little gay tonight, and I just can't help it. So I'll close by thanking Eric, and of course, with gratitude to the entire theater and performance PhD program, especially to Liz, without whom I wouldn't have defended my dissertation, to my advisor, David Savrin, and dissertation committee member, Jean Graham-Jones. And I'd also like to thank Kathy Davidson and Luke Waltzer, who came along in my trajectory here at really crucial times and really helped push me over the edge. And also Professor Judy Millis, who's a distinguished professor emerita now. And from Judy, I learned that anyone interested in something passionately can make it interesting for others. And I hope that I can carry that practice on. Thank you so much. So I see after that, not everyone is on Wikipedia looking up Shakespeare. But that's a hint for you. So now we turn our attention to the CUNY Award, which recognizes alumni who have made significant contributions to strengthening the City University of New York and its mission through their scholarship, collaboration, and external partners and mentorship to our students. To present the first award in this category, I would like to welcome Brian Gibney, the Graduate Center's Dean for the Sciences.
Thank you, Joel. It is certainly my pleasure to be here tonight to honor all of our alumni, the winners tonight and all the others. So it's my pleasure to present the CUNY Award to Ghaffar Gilani, Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Industrial Design Technology at New York City Tech. Ghaffar Gilani is a leader in mechanical engineering whose work bridges biomechanics, additive manufacturing, and medical device innovation. As the founder and director of the Center for Medical Devices and Additive Manufacturing at New York City College of Technology, he's expanded opportunities for students while advancing research with real-world impact, from prosthetics development to global health initiatives. A dedicated mentor, Ghaffar encourages his students to think globally and to use their skills in service of others. Research for the public good. He supervised projects in which City Tech students designed braces for disabled children in his native Sudan. He's also shown a deep commitment to workforce development through his management of NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center Miro funding program, and from the Minority University Research and Education Project. Ghaffar's career reflects the very best of CUNY. Rigorous scholarship, inventive public-minded work, and a deep commitment to opening doors for the next generation. We are proud to number him among our alumni in the mechanical engineering program. Please join me in congratulating Ghaffar Gilani. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank the nomination committee and the Graduate Center for this honor. Graduate Center has been making a big impact in my life since I started coming to the Graduate Center. I came to America in 1996 and to New York City. So my plan was just to stay for 5 years maximum, and then I have to return. And I said, okay, during these 5 years, let me at least do my master's degree. So I went to City College to start my master's degree. And then surprisingly, in the third, I think in 2000, yes. So I got an opportunity to work for General Electric R&D disconnected. But I found over there a different lifestyle, different mindset. So I remember every weekend, I used to come back to New York City, spend the weekend, and then go back to disconnected. I realized that from this experience that there is no place for me except New York City. And I somehow have to make sure that I stick to it. It's the only place where I can survive. Schenectady was good, but just a very, very different. And I was invited at that time. I didn't have a lot of friends, so most of my friends were here. So I finished my master's degree, and then I had this passion for PhD, which I wasn't planning for, but I found that one of the advices that somebody told me, or a friend of mine said, why don't you go for PhD? And then I started in NYU for 1.5 years, getting married during that time. My mentor left the university. So when he left, at that time it was Polytechnic University. Now they changed the name, so just to make sure you have this. So I went back to City College based on my mentor advice. And he said to me, "You go and work with Professor Steve Cowan." And Brian reminded me Steve Cowan. He looks very close to you. And I enjoyed working with Professor Steve Cowan. He was my mentor, even after I finished my PhD. For like 7 years, we continued to work after that. I remember very well it was very emotional moment for me to come here to the Graduate Center. I remember coming here to the library, spending so many hours. Though our classes were at City College, Professor Cowan apartment was not far from here, so he preferred always to meet in his apartment, where we spent long hours discussing and working our work. I was his only PhD student, so he was very focused on me. At that time, I had two kids, and people were telling me, "You better finish your PhD quickly because there is one saying, big kid, big problem. So now you have small problems, so try to finish this." So I rushed to finish it quickly. I finished in 3.5 years almost. And everybody was surprised. "How come you finished it?" I said, "Because of the person who told me you have to finish." But by the time I finished, I have my third child. And 9 months after I finished my thesis, I got the fourth one and the last one. And Graduate Center has a big contribution into this because I was working. I was the head of the family. So I wanted something that I can stop working and bring me back to do my PhD full time. And it was the Graduate Center that offered me the first scholarship in my life. And this helped me just to come to the PhD program and start working full time. I will never forget the contribution of Professor Gail Smith from the Graduate Center here. She was the one behind this. I wish if she was here today. She was here when I came back in 2010 for another celebration with Professor Cowan as well. So she played a big role. Dr. Parker also as well. So I feel I'm in debt for the Graduate Center. I'm not sure how I can retain this debt. But the only thing I make sure that I do is that to inspire the new generation. So I have a lot of students, and one of the ways I came with to inspire them, I said, instead of working just in projects, why don't you work in projects that inspire humanity and help kids all over the world? And it's good to have a relationship with kids. Well, now we have one we want to start in Bangladesh if we receive the funding. And I said, okay, now people in Bangladesh or in Sudan, they will say students from New York City are helping us. Thanks again to the Graduate Center. Sorry if I made it longer. And I really appreciate this. And thanks again.
For our final presentation, it's my pleasure to welcome Distinguished Professor of French and Comparative Literature, Domna Stanton.
Last but not least, it is indeed my great pleasure to present this CUNY Award to Sophie Marinez, Professor of Modern Languages and Literature at the Borough of Manhattan Community College and at the Graduate Center, where she is Professor of French and of Black, Race, Ethnic, and Africana Studies. Sophie completed her PhD in early modern French literature and culture with a dissertation on Mademoiselle de Montpensier, not necessarily a name known to you, writings, Chateau, and female self-consciousness in early modern French, which received that year the Carolyn Heilbrunn Award for the best dissertation featuring feminist analysis. That was the year 2016. It was subsequently published by Brill in 2017. By 2018, this native speaker of Spanish as well as French shifted her primary scholarly field to Caribbean, Haitian, and Dominican Republic studies. Since then, she has produced a co-edited volume on Jacques-Ville Renaud, a Haitian poet and revolutionary who died at the age of 23. And supported by funding from the NEH, Mellon, and ACLS, in addition to stipends from the Graduate Center, her essays and articles in peer-reviewed journals culminated in 2025 with a book called Spirals in the Caribbean, Representing Violence and Connection in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Published by the University of Pennsylvania Press, this book delves into theories of spiralism. You can ask Sophie later on what that means, and other multidisciplinary critical practices. The Caribbean Philosophical Association awarded this work the France Fanon Prize for Outstanding Book in Caribbean Thought in 2025. As I read through Sophie's Vita, with its numerous invited talks at home and abroad, including, for example, the University of London and King's College, the University of Rio de Janeiro, of Montreal, Havana, Barcelona, and San Juan. A year recently, this past year, teaching at the Sorbonne, a series editorship in Caribbean Studies, 4 books in progress, reviews and essays, op-eds and public-facing lectures, literary translations, poetry, interviews with writers and artists. I am stunned by her, not only her an extraordinary production, but by her abiding commitment to teaching and, in fact, to work with students at the MCC. Indeed, the administrative roles she has assumed within her department and outside of it, including at the Graduate Center. So it is both scholarly and pedagogical, as you can see. I would say, in fact, that her scholarship and teaching would meet the expectations of any Research One university in the country. We at the Graduate Center can take enormous pride in her achievement, so please join me in welcoming and congratulating Sophie. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a long night. Lots of amazing alumni, lots of deserving colleagues. It's such a pleasure and an honor to learn from all of you and to share this evening. Thank you so much, Damna, for this wonderful presentation, which coming from you means the world to me. I am honored to have remained in touch with you over the years as you exemplified scholarly excellence from the very beginning. Damna was an incredibly dedicated advisor who rigorously engaged with my dissertation, reading draft after draft after draft until it made it to the next level. And in doing so, shaped my standards to the highest level ever since. I came to this program already thinking I wanted to do Caribbean studies. At the time, I did not find the person or the moment that the scholarship in the field was not right for me. And I took a class with Damna Stanton on early modern women, including Mademoiselle de Montpensier, that mysterious woman who was the wealthiest woman in Europe throughout the 17th century, the first cousin of Louis XIV, and a very anti-marriage woman. She would have been very popular these days. With a book, she wrote letters against marriage, which she said was the slavery of women back then. So I was very interested in this woman from the 17th century who said things that and all the talk about women at the time that I found particularly familiar, like I had read it or heard it a week ago. And that's how I jumped into the 17th century, guided by Professor Stanton, and I would never regret it. Then I graduated and I took a job at Vassar College, which was a fantastic opportunity for 2 years. And soon after that, I accepted a position at BMCC, where I have been lucky to be on a tenure track since then. A year later, something happened in the Dominican Republic that when the Dominican Constitutional Court issued court ruling 168-13, which stripped of their birthright citizenship hundreds of thousands of Dominicans of Haitian descent, making it retroactive to 1929 and immediately plunging hundreds of thousands of people into statelessness. I decided to redirect my scholarship back from the 17th century, France, Europe, and women to the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, and why anti-Blackness is so pervasive that it infiltrated the very constitution of a country. Little did I know that today we will be seeing this happening again, as the Constitution itself is being questioned. The birthright citizenship of the United States is being under attack today. Déjà vu is not a good thing. So I am also grateful here at the Graduate Center to the professors who contributed to my growth, starting with Francesca Subman, then executive officer of the French program, who welcomed me with open arms and whose dedication, breadth of knowledge, and theoretical sophistication set the tone for what I aspire to be. Edouard Blisson helped me understand myself as someone shaped by constant movement across languages and geographies, as you can see. Julia Chivos encouraged me when I needed her the most, and Antoinette Groom had an infectious joy that I cherished because it mirrored my gratitude for the privilege of being in a place where reading and writing could lead to a career, teaching literature, no less. She noticed how happy I was, always smiling, never complaining, and I would say, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? It wasn't easy to do it all as a single parent, taking student loans and teaching multiple courses as an adjunct to make ends meet. But none of that mattered to me, because where I come from, the Dominican Republic, getting a doctorate in a field other than law or medicine was not even a thought. And there I was, building a career I had not imagined existed. The Graduate Center basically changed my life. You, Donna, Francesca, Edouard, Julia, and all the professors of that generation, you changed my life. And who would have thought that life will make this beautiful, poetic, full circle, placing me back here at the Graduate Center, where I now have the privilege of contributing to its intellectual community. Before I move on, I would like to thank the Graduate Center alum and scholar Beatriz Carolina Peña, who's watching on Zoom, for graciously nominating me for this award, and the Alumni Award Committee for their effort in selecting nominees from the enormous pool of deserving alumni. That's not a small task, and I really appreciate you. So many people helped me get here, and for the sake of time, I can only mention a few. My dear friend Laura Sklar, who's here with us, first welcomed me into her home when I came to New York 30 years ago and have been a sister ever since. My friend William Burgos invited me to give a talk on Dominican writers at Long Island University in 2001, making me realize that being a professor was my calling. At BMCC, my students' life stories and intellectual curiosity continue to remind me why scholarship matters. I am especially grateful to my colleagues at BMCC, Evelyn Gamarra, Maria Enrico, Sharon Avni, Adele Kurish, and Lisette Acosta Corniel for their genuine enthusiasm and kindness. In Caribbean Studies, Silvio Torres Ayan, founding director of the Dominican Studies Institute, Dean Juan Carlos Mercado at City College, Samuel Martinez at UConn, and Christian Giraud at the Sorbonne Nouvelle in Paris opened doors for me within and outside CUNY. poet Raquel Cabrera, and leading scholars Yvette Romero, Esther Allen, Angelina Tayar, Alessandra Benedetti Cocaine, Kayama Glover, Maja Horn, who's also with us here, and Anne Eller, nourished me with their superb intellect and friendship. Along with Beatriz, they hold a special place in my heart for their stunning generosity and for exemplifying intellectual solidarity with other women scholars. None of my achievements would have been possible without Richard Loboy, the love of my life, and my children, Tess and Dylan, who have been the light of my life, giving me purpose and shaping my character, like unexpected teachers, maestros sent by the stars. And last but really the first, Ella Henao, also a Graduate Center alumna and the chair of my department at BMCC, to whom I dedicate this award. Yes, Ella, because you always went above and beyond your job description and became a dragon slayer to protect the time and mental space I needed for my research. You exemplify the kind of leadership that changes lives and makes this world a better place. And I am truly honored to be your colleague and call you my friend. In the end, as we have seen by everyone's testimony, awards are meant to celebrate individual achievements, but they are, above all, testaments to the fact that none of us rise alone. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
So I'm all that stands between you and the silent call of snacks and drinks. As Josh said earlier, I'm relatively new here, and each day I have the privilege of coming in and entering a building where we have this motto, knowledge for the public good. It's humbling and inspiring to listen to these alumni today, to be part among these scholars, activists, and true citizens of the world. So please join me again in congratulating tonight's honorees, whose exceptional work brings distinction to the Graduate Center and propels our shared mission to make a lasting impact through scholarship and teaching together. So more applause. Yes. In doing so, we also celebrate implicitly the broader alumni community, whose extraordinary contributions continue to shape lives, foster inquiry, inculcate equity and opportunity for everyone whose lives they touch. Before we close, we'd be remiss not to thank our wonderful staff who made this all possible. One more round of applause, please. This is one. And one more note. I got it. One more note. Everybody got an award, and the presenters, please gather for a group picture after the final applause. Thank you for joining us this evening. We invite you to stay for snacks and drinks and for photographs.